everyone. It's so great to see everybody in person. I'm Betty Lou. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon. So I'll try to make it as smooth and fun and easy as possible. So for those who don't know me, I am the chair and CEO of D&Z Media Acquisition. I was most recently the vice chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. And before that, I was a longtime anchor at Bloomberg Television. And most importantly, I'm a proud member of the Tent Advisory Council. So I'm very honored to be here today. You know, while Tent and many of you have been at this work for years, in this crises and conflicts in places like Afghanistan and Ukraine, it's ushered in a new urgency to ensure that those who are forced to flee their homes have a fair shot to rebuild their lives here in the United States and all around the world. The US government has stepped up to meet this moment by committing to welcome hundreds of thousands of people displaced by major refugee crises, including 95,000 at-risk Afghans, 100,000 Ukrainians displaced by Russia's military invasion, and up to 300,000 refugees from other parts of the world over the course of the Biden administration. So thank you to the Biden administration for really elevating the issue of refugees. And it's been a critical moment for refugee integration in the United States. And it was against this backdrop that in June of earlier this year, Tent's founder and Chobani CEO, Hamdi Ulukaya, Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, Jonas Prising, the CEO of ManpowerGroup, and Carlos Gutierrez, CEO of Empath and the former US Secretary of Commerce, issued a call to action encouraging companies to make ambitious commitments to hire and train refugees in the United States. And those companies listened. We're going to be hearing from some of America's biggest and most beloved brands about how they plan to do exactly that, how they're answering the call to action. So before we get to the announcement portion of the summit, we're going to take a deeper dive to learn more about how businesses are stepping up in support of refugees in the United States and about the wonderful contributions refugees are making to workplaces across America, as you just saw in that video featuring Kabir and Katia. So to start us off, please turn your attention to the screen for a short message from one of today's co-hosts, Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer.
Thank you, Betty. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person, but my Pfizer colleagues and I are very excited to be on this journey with you. This is a truly groundbreaking summit, the first in which corporate America is coming together to support refugees and help shine a light on the tremendous value they bring to the US economy. For Pfizer, this program has become an increasingly important talent source, where we find highly qualified new colleagues that are contributing to virtually all aspects of our business. Since we joined the Tent Coalition in 2021, we have hired more than 80 amazing women and men from the program, each of whom is helping make Pfizer a better company. Their unique experiences, skills, talents, and perspectives have further enhanced our diversity, which helps us maintain our leadership in creativity and innovation. I have met many of these new colleagues, and I'm deeply impressed by their work ethic, integrity, and passion for success. To my fellow Tent Coalition members, I say, it is our privilege to be with you on this critical mission. To those considering becoming members, I say, join us. We would welcome your expertise, energy, and expansion of this program. While there is a strong business case for what we are doing here, that is not the only reason Pfizer is part of this coalition. While Tent is not a philanthropic program, it certainly is one which helps people in need. And at Pfizer, we believe businesses have both an obligation and opportunity to do that and to make society better. TENT is a highly effective coalition. And shortly, you will hear about Pfizer's new and expanded commitments to the program. Thank you again for the opportunity to be part of what you're doing, and best of luck with today's summit.
Well, I am very excited to invite some of the companies that are making commitments to refugees in the United States. Of course, I want to bring on stage Hamdi to join me up here, as well as Jonas. Rachel Russell, the Senior Vice President of HR Operations Americas at Hilton. Rachel, are you here? John Tyson, the EVP and Strategy and Chief Sustainability Officer at Tyson Foods. And Janet Sora, the Vice President of Employee Relations at Amazon Stores and Corporate. So don't be shy, come on up stage. All right, well, thank you all for joining me. And we start off, Hamdi, of course, with you. We're all here today because of your vision and your experience that you've shared many, many times about your personal interactions with refugees at Chobani and how they really help build your company, and then the crises that you've seen around the world. So tell us a little bit first about the success of TENT and what you've learned in this journey so far.
Thank you, Beth. Really good to see you. It's been a quiet journey, but you know, just like any other journey, it hasn't been, you know, that easy. And I think when I started the journey of you know, TENT in 2016, it was impossible to see what this would be like. But if somebody said to me by, you know, this time, we will be sitting this most amazing companies and brands and leaders like Albert and Jonas in a room that we're going to announce, you know, this many commitment, I probably would pinch myself and say, it is mind-blowing, but this is what this country is all about. Really, it doesn't surprise me the most. The most of the credit goes to the, of course, the amazing TENT team members, the leaders at the TENT, but also leaders on these companies. You know, I guess the benefit of this whole thing and this journey, Betty, is the business community. It's a combination of the people, and those people are leaders and CEOs, leaders on HR departments, and the employees, and then the consumers, right? The people that who buy and use their services. And when you sit down, have a conversation, a dialogue, and share what you know, what you learn, and how things are outside of all the noises that you hear, and you work towards that that goal, and using the business language, and I think that's what we try to do at TENT. I think made an enormous amount of difference. And the other part of is this people of this country really makes up the companies. And if you go to the communities, I was just talking with John, and if you go to communities to enforce Idaho and upstate New York or any part of this, it's embedded in the culture. The refugees and immigrants made this country what it is today. So the combination of all, I think I am pleased. This is a very historical moment. These companies who are announcing the commitments today is making a historical dent in this topic in this country. And I think the opportunity we have in our front of us is we cannot take it for granted, and we double down on our work and take it to the next level, so that this topic, refugee or hiring refugees, is not an extraordinary thing, it's a normal thing, it's just a regular thing. So we have enormous amount of responsibility, but I will bring it to point to this point of probably one of the highest commitment announced by major companies. I think it's one of the first ever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe so. And it's exciting that we're going to be hearing about those commitments a little bit later in the program. But in terms of integrating refugees into the workforce, Jonas, I want to bring you into the conversation because I know you've been integrating refugees into the workforce at Manpower, and you also have a great view of the labor landscape. So tell us a little bit about how, we've heard so much, particularly during the pandemic, of labor shortages and sources of talent. So how do we put in the context the refugees and how they are part of this talent pool or new sources of talent for the labor shortage that we're facing?
Yeah, no, thank you, Betty. So we live in a bit of a strange time. Labor markets are the eye of the storm with all of the other things swirling around, record high inflation, war in Ukraine, energy prices, food prices going up, rents going up, really across the world. And, at that time, though, labor markets remain extremely strong and in many cases, decade lows unemployment across the world. So this is a great time for companies to rethink their hiring policies and really focus on attracting talent from talent pools that they traditionally would not consider.
Mm.
And refugees, have been part of the fabric, whether they are economic migrants or displaced by geopolitical events, for many, many decades, of course. But we've been very encouraged, just as Hamdi said, on the willingness of organizations such as the one on this panel, such as the one being part of the coalition, to consider refugees and bringing them in, to attracting them to their company so that they can integrate them into their workforce. But I think it's also important to note that there is no better way to help an individual become integrated into his or her new home than by having them discover and live the dignity of work and being integrated and being active and feeling the self-worth of contributing, feeling that they're a member of society, feeling that they're a member of a team. So this is certainly an opportunity for employers to attract great talent, just as you heard Albert just say in his video, but it is also a way of helping these individuals become productive members of society and feel at home in their new home country much quicker than would otherwise be the case.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. So John, I know to that end, Tyson has had a significant part of their workforce be refugees. And I know you've had quite a bit of experience, and without giving too much away, you're going to be announcing a significant expansion. So you can tell us a little bit now, a little bit later.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about what you've learned, in this process and some of the challenges.
Sure. Well, I can tell you a little bit about Tyson. I think for those that aren't familiar, we employ a little over 100,000 folks around the United States, spread across semi-urban and suburban and rural communities, kind of all over the U.S. And I think for us, we have what I would say is a decent history of hiring refugees and immigrants into our food production locations. And I think that through that, we've learned quite a bit. And if I was to summarize it in a couple of big things, I think things that inform the programs that we have now. First and foremost, you just talked about it, Jonas, but helping people get integrated into kind of their new communities, finding a job is a first step to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that, our experience has been people that are moving to the United States for the first time, grateful to have a company invest in them and take a chance on them, and so tend to be a loyal workforce. And in many cases, there's a lot of skills that people are coming with and degrees that we can try to help find within our company. But I think the other thing that we've done that has been really important is we've kind of invested in a lot of programs around our employees. So not just supporting them in the workplace, but also trying to support them as best we can outside the workplace. So, at work, that means free education around English language skills, high school GED equivalency, associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees for those that are wanting to do that. But then we also kind of wrap around that things like credit counseling, legal services for immigration and paperwork, and a host of other things that help people just live comfortably where they are, because in most cases, you think about what's going on in the world right now, people are not by choice, coming to the United States and trying to start their lives together. So the little bit that we can do to help them out, I think is a great point of pride for people that work at Tyson, and something that we're excited to be a part of here, celebrating and announcing today.
That's great. And Rachel, could you share, do you share some of what John is saying as well as your experience at
Absolutely.
home?
Could echo so much of what both of my colleagues here have said. At Hilton, our purpose was ultimately founded on spreading the light and warmth of hospitality, and to really try to be a beacon of hope and an engine of opportunity for so many. So when we look at one way to do that, one of the most, prolific ways to do that is obviously to provide career pathways for folks. And, as we look at providing those pathways for folks, then what we see is that you can really create a degree of economic stability and mobility and flexibility. And that in turn, when we look at underrepresented groups, and not just refugees, which we're so proud of, but when we look at, disadvantaged youth or survivors of trafficking or what have you, right? This perpetuates just this virtuous cycle of goodness and gratitude and what have you. And so as we've been investing in refugee hiring, it has delivered nothing but goodness into our workforce. We have enthusiastic, committed, innovative individuals that are spreading this contagious spirit amongst our workforce. They're embodying it to our guests. They're helping us think about things differently. We're seeing higher rates of retention. We're seeing promotions come out of this. And it just really turned out to be such an amazing, mutually beneficial relationship that we're really proud of, and really excited to be here with all of you today and share some of those success stories. If I might add, in one moment, you're going to meet someone from Hilton, very excited, Abdul, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but when you meet him, you cannot not feel the compassion, the commitment, the work ethic. And to have someone like that spreading that in your workplace day in and day out is nothing but goodness. So
I agree. I'm very excited to hear his story later.
yeah.
Okay, so Janet, tell us about Amazon. I mean, I know Amazon's been actively hiring Afghans and other refugees, expanding programs to hire more refugees into, their massive labor force. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, thanks. So we got involved really as Afghans were beginning to come to the U.S. Military bases, and we activated our employees who spoke Dari and Pashto to really understand the culture and reach out to those Afghans, let them know that Amazon was committed to hiring, and how they could apply for roles, within our warehouses, within corporate, we have many different business operations and opportunities through all of those. And really working with them to say, when you're ready, here's how you apply, and these are the roles we have available, really help connect them. I think a lot what John and Rachel were sharing. And also we relied quite a bit with Tent. So thank you, Hamdi, and the folks here kind of when building our program. We got some additional support, making sure that how we're reaching out, making sure we're being inclusive, and in addition, helping them with their needs. We worked at some refugee fairs to help us to reach out to additional folks, whether it's welcome.us, it helped us a bit. And also with the 9 government agencies for the refugee resettlement has helped us quite a bit as well. And some other relationships just been key, and those partnerships really great with us. We've created a program called Welcome Door, and now we have, mentioning to you, a leader in charge of that now. So we've dedicated a group and really invested in the resources within Amazon, that we've got folks who work on retention, on hiring, and really making that program successful. And similar to John, what you were describing, so we really help folks with the fees that they pay as they go through the citizenship, end-to-end portal, because it's kind of confusing, like where are you in the legal process? So we've got a self-service, kind of a real good program there, so people can see where they are in the process. Legal services as well, and where they can reach an expert to help them facilitate that. And also, which was really impressive, is a mentoring program to help them with their unique needs. So, the program, we're continuing to grow and shape that program and improve it. So I love all the partnerships here. We can continue to learn and improve it. So that's Welcome Door has been a really strong asset within our teams. And some additional partners. We are looking, it's been focused primarily in the US, but we're also extending Welcome Door to other countries internationally. And again, as Rachel said, we've had great success, good stories, very highly engaged workforce. We've got a father and son that work together in one of our warehouses in Denver, and they help support a large family who've also resettled into the States, and just, very appreciative and just great in the community, and also within that warehouse that there's a great sense of community with those employees. So.
That's great. And I'm curious, what you were saying made me think about, various programs in the United States, but also in Europe and in Asia and elsewhere. You have to work with various government agencies, various nonprofits in all of those different countries and regions. How have you found, and this is really a question for any of you, how have you found the integration here versus, let's say, in Europe or other parts of the world? How would you compare and contrast? Anybody want to take a stab at that?
I think we have moved unusually quickly here in the US, but the European reaction to the war in Ukraine was very swift and extremely comprehensive. So if you think about Poland has to date received close to 6 million refugees coming across the border in various waves. And within 3 days, all of the access to childcare, education, work, financial institutions, and residence and permits for them to move within Poland, but also beyond Poland into the European Union was settled. And so within 3 weeks, the European Union had, all of the programs supporting this for any person also coming out of the war zone through other surrounding countries. So not only through Poland, which is an EU member, but also through other countries which are not EU members and then transition into EU members, were recognized as refugees and had the same rights. And that I think led to opportunities being made available to these refugees very, very quickly from a work perspective as well. But I have to say the US Biden administration has reacted very quickly, much quicker than what we have done in other cases, and has facilitated the entry into society as well as into work to a significant extent. But I still think that in terms of bureaucracy and steps for people to take to become a member of an organization, and you mentioned, Janet, all of the support that we still have to provide as companies here to explain the path of what you have to do, and the barriers that many organizations are ill-equipped to navigate on their own, which is why, Hamdi, you set up Tent as a way of helping facilitate and spread the word of how many employers can avail themselves of this great workforce and not have to worry about the barriers of various kinds. I think we still have a lot of work to do there, but it's a good start, and it's much improved, and gives us great hope for the future of making this possible, not only for those in the current coalition, but all the members that are joining on a daily basis and that want to help refugees integrate into our country.
And how about for companies? I mean, what would all of you say to companies that have not yet joined the Tent Coalition, are thinking about it, but have not quite gotten over the fence on it? What would you say to them? Because it sounds, obviously, from talking to all of you, it makes so much sense. It makes business sense. It makes humanitarian sense. But what do you say to companies that are still on the fence about it? What would you say to them to get them over?
Well, I know what I can say. I think with leadership of the companies that has already joined and making commitment in the stage, in the room, and previously, has paved the way of good practices, and show, like Albert said, it's not only a good thing to do, but it's also good for business, and it's already proven many times. I think Tent probably in this space, and not because we are in it 24/7, and Gideon and the team tirelessly work on it. We probably get the best practices with trial and error all these years, and then we talk in the board and all the time, and we allow ourselves to make mistakes, but really stay business way. Be fast, be quick, be innovative, take chances, and speak the same language. I think the business community is desperately need the way the language from the organizations like TANT with the same style. Otherwise, we get bored.
Mhm.
And I'll say, the other part is this is one topic that I have enormous amount of respect for NGOs and enormous amount of respect for some of the governments that they do, is once it gets into the hands of businesses, it gets into a different dimension.
Yeah.
So you don't have only, emotional, satisfaction of doing something right, but also seeing this result really fast spreads extremely faster. So Amazon or Tyson or Hilton or any other companies, the Pepsi announces what is today, there is an unrecorded effect that does happen in the communities, whether from the brand perspective or encouraging other companies, medium, small size companies to participate is enormous. So these are very, very important commitment that we make. But we say, come, call us. Tell us, for us is, every company who wants to come to space is our customer. So we want to serve. Our profit is, people get job and lives are unstuck and communities are built. It's no brainer. I think we have a lot of companies stepping forward. And to, Johanna's point, Europe, Netherlands, I love the businesses in Netherlands, before even the, Ukrainian crisis, the Dutch businesses has stepped up and kept their commitment. You look at Canada, and oh my God, I mean, I don't know if anyone is in Canada here. The companies that they do what they do in Canada, and especially, the TED members, it's just most amazing. Or you go to Colombia, you look at the companies that do. There are so many good examples, across the globe. But we know it once the U.S. companies take something on, it just goes fast. So we are that kind of, mindset. So I think this event is something that is just surpasses everything that we've ever done.
Right. It's an accelerator to this.
Could I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
So you asked, what would you tell other companies that are doing that or thinking about it? And I would say, just do it. And here's why. I think this group, Tint, and a lot of the other companies here have experience. And so there are ways to do this. But I think one learning for us, where we had done a lot of hiring of refugees in one location, but we didn't know how it was going to work elsewhere. I think what we learned about, because this is a decision that sometimes gets made at like a central function or like an HR function. It's not necessarily our locations on the ground who are trying to liaise with the stakeholders to make this happen. And I think what really surprised us in a positive way was that you find out your leaders and managers who are working with these people on a day-to-day basis have this like huge, reserve of compassion and enthusiasm to help somebody. And so I think having the confidence that trust the people, I mean, most companies today are companies who talk about wanting to take care of their people. And so getting people the opportunity to do that, people will, they'll meet your expectations and even exceed them in getting to help you do something like this. And so, don't be shy about it. That's what I would say.
That's great. To that extent, I'd like to just go one layer deeper beyond what all of you have talked about in terms of your experience with integrating refugees in your workforce. I want to hear a little bit more about some of your own personal experiences. Anything that can kind of give us a little bit more of a layer deeper into that development. So Janet, I'll put you on the spot here with that. But I'll also let you talk about Welcome Door because that's a good setup for that. But tell me a little bit about, just can you go a little bit, one layer deeper on sort of what this looks like when you're integrating refugees into Amazon?
Yeah, I think, thank you. But I think for Amazon, we're so much stronger because we have such a diverse workforce. And I think it's, back to what John and Hamdi were talking about, of bringing and welcoming those different cultures in, right? So, and also we do find that our locations and our coworkers really, they want that sense of community and they really enjoy, working with people from diverse backgrounds and that sense of community. Laying this out, we do also have a centralized function, but you find this throughout the world and also within this here in the States, but we've got the support teams for them. So we've got, that they're able to address, and we want them to have the same experience as our non-refugee employees. As we do this, to make sure they have access to all of our programs. We have benefits day one. I mean, they get the benefit, we have the training that we do, we've got skill-based training, all that they participate in, to have English as a second language, and also ability to get college paid for all of our employees, plus these individuals. So for us on the ground, it really just, it makes good business sense. We've not had the friction, haven't had any concerns. I think we're continuing to grow and improve. And I love, having the groups here who really have helped us give some more of those best practices. So we learn and grow from those all the time.
Would you say language proficiency is one of the largest barriers or biggest challenges for refugees?
I think companies need to be responding to that, right? So also, as you have different process paths, we talked, Rachel had mentioned about career pathing and growing. And so I think you need to make sure you set people up for success. They've got that ability for the English language, and also understand that the roles that they can perform and what they can add to the organization. So I think having that support network for them as well, I think that it's one of the key components. But you want them to have a strong experience, so they're not concerned. I think what Welcome Door offers by having the additional legal services and the mentorship, it gives a holistic approach to their employment.
Right.
Because they're coming from displaced from their home country, there's a lot of stress, and they're responsive to that. So you want this holistic approach.
Yeah, I'd like to add, harkening back for just a second to when you were talking about going into other countries and what have you, obviously being a global company that transcends, borders and what have you, we've done a lot of work and in Europe, and there's even other opportunities beyond just employment and ways to support refugees. So we've done some work in different areas of like mentorship with different groups. Room donation, obviously when there's very acute needs and folks need housing and what have you, being able to do that and perpetuate a goodwill between the company and various different groups, working with Tent on the Sunflower Project, of course, and trying to do what we can to help accelerate the economic inclusion of women refugees from Ukraine. And we've been able to hire over 250 people in the recent past. And so I think that the message here is, sometimes is it the easiest thing to navigate? Not always. It's not a rinse repeat from one country to another, but you have these amazing affiliations. You do have good NGOs in the area who work with Tent to help connect you to where these populations of folks are. And to echo what all of my colleagues have said, until you hire folks and get them into the various, plants or hotels or what have you, and you just see the the contagion that goes on with everybody, it transcends work. And it really, and I don't want to sound too, what have you, but it becomes this like soulful humanitarian thing that really creates this connectivity and work and really kind of grounds people to staying put. So it's just a win-win all the way around, so many different levels.
We've talked a lot about hiring refugees and integrating them into the workforce, but what about retaining? What about retention? Tell me a little bit about what that looks like at your companies.
I'll say a little bit. I think I'll paint one picture for you, which is we have a location in South Dakota, a town called Dakota Dunes. And when you walk into the front door, there are 50 flags or 50 or 60 flags representing different countries, because that's how many different languages are spoken in that specific site. And I think we even print our benefits packages. We put them in digital forms now, but we used to print them in 11 or 12 different languages, all in one site. And so why am I telling you that? I think it's because what we're doing there, people are kind of honoring the diversity in that site and celebrating it. And so I think that's one part of retention. We're not, we're making it front and center and kind of the culture of the location. And then, I think we've also made some investments in some programs one we call our community liaisons program or cultural liaisons program. And so you can imagine every Tyson location has one or two people, and their whole job is just really to be a liaison and to liaise between a community of immigrants or refugees that are in a single place. I'll give an example. Springdale, Arkansas is where our headquarters is, and it has outside of the Marshall Islands, the largest concentration of Marshallese folks living anywhere in the world. And the consulate for the Marshall Islands is actually in Springdale, Arkansas. So, you know, we have, I know it's DC and Springdale are like the two hubs. And, you know, we have one or two people who just kind of interface with that, with those government officials, you know, and it makes a big difference. And so I think I give that as an example of kind of trying to, you know, people say, you know, meet them where they are, and literally and figuratively try to speak their language in a way that makes people feel welcome and want to stay a long time.
I want to turn a little bit to, and I think maybe Hamdi, you could speak more to this. I know you were, you know, I've seen you on social media, and I saw the wonderful pictures of you in Washington, you know, meeting with Biden, I believe. And am I wrong about that, or?
Vice President, probably.
But, oh, okay, right. My memory these days. But look, you met with the highest levels of government to talk with you and other business leaders to talk about the refugee crisis here. Tell me a little bit about the reception you received, the dialogue there, obviously without giving too much away. I'm curious to hear about, you know, what the posture is now from
On the administration side.
Yes.
Yeah, of course we are, you know, we are in a friendlier environment now than we were, you know, previously. You know, having, you know, President Biden, Vice President, Secretary Blinken, Secretary Mayorkas, and, you know, Assistant Secretary Noyes is here, you know, on the policy immigration. We have very, very passionate people in the government on this topic. You know, previously, you know, there was governors that wrote the letters to President Trump and said, we don't want refugees in our communities. And then, you know, no one write about it. Every single one of those who wrote those letters, except one or two, wrote back and said, no, we want them. This is not a Democrat or Republican topic. It just became, you know, unfortunately, politically used. And I think it's very unfortunate, because you're talking about, you know, people, you're talking about children. And you're talking about being against legacy of this country, the culture, you know, this is how this place has been built. And you have leaders and opinion makers and people who respect both sides of the spectrum and coming up and says, this is essential. Yes, for politics, we say things, we do things, but this is what makes this country so special, so amazing, and we cannot go against it. I think even during, you know, previous administrations, the activity among companies in this country was highest.
Yeah.
Even during the pandemic, we had companies, and some of us, you know, in this room and here, this is no longer, I don't think this is, yes, the policymakers do make the policies, how many of them can be allowed to come in. But when it comes to responsibility, it really is not tied into the, you know, political side of things. It makes it easier. I think this is a topic that companies, the government side, from every dimension you look at it, we will be facing refugees for one reason to another. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be because of climate more than anything else in the coming years. We're going to deal with refugees all around the world for a long, long time. The second part of this is not doing anything about it is not only irresponsible, but it's one of the most dangerous things to do for society. Because this is one topic we cannot stay silent or idle. It will jeopardize the health of society going forward. And we've seen some bad examples of that. And the last topic is the minute, and you know, you bring refugees to your community and your company and let them be part of your family, the immediate effect is not too long. You're talking about a few years.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I mean, you go to Utica, and I wish I could just take an iPhone and record the last 4 or 5 years, what happened in this town. And every report will tell you the new blood that came into this town and turned the community around, even before pandemic. So every economic study, every social study, this shows that when the refugees are given chance in a community, the effect is enormous from every dimension you look at it. So it's no brainer. Does it require a little bit of attention? And that's why we have these most amazing leaders and stepping up. And they're not only CEOs, they're most passionate HR leaders or the people who work in these companies. And I think the impact that they make in their own company, but greatly in society, will be written in boldly, and how they shape in the society going forward. This is our responsibility, and we cannot stay silent. I am very pleased, but I think the companies, when Hilton or Amazon comes up and says, we are going to do this, don't underestimate the effect that is making on brand refugees all around the globe. And I think we have responsibility as business community to force or impact our policymakers to do the right thing, going forward. And it's no longer we can allow like John said, we can allow an individual, a brother, a sister, a child, a mother, a father, to be used for a political reason unfairly. We see it on TV these days. It's just not fair. It's not nice. And I think no matter what you believe, where you live, and that's why I'm so proud of these initiatives. I mean, you're looking at Afghani refugees, the veteran communities coming up and how they're supporting it. The women communities, associations that are coming out, how they're supporting it. I think this voice is getting bolder and bolder and louder. And I'm pleased that we are here. And again, I come back to the same topic over and over and over again. If there's anything, we should take advantage of the moment. And there's a documentary that's coming up. I'm extremely excited to see it. Famous documentaries on how we failed during Holocaust time in this country. And I think if we don't know the stories well, we will not learn from it and we will not shape it rightly. And some of the conversations was happening, at least at last today, was as if we haven't learned in the last 45 years. So we must know what our history, what our past is, and so we can make it better for our children. And this is a UN week. And if I'm at the Sustainable Development Goals, committee, and the Secretary General will say, it's a really alarming time in all the dimensions. It's time for all of us to come together and start working on it. And we are all convinced, without businesses, we're not going to solve anything. And it's so refreshing to see all these brands and companies are coming up and leading society to find a way to move the society forward.
And not to let history repeat itself, and to take this opportunity. And on that note, thank you so much, Hamdi, and thank you to our panelists for a wonderful conversation. Really going to be amazing. Yeah, you can have your seat. Yeah. And then before we bring our next speakers to the stage, I'd like to ask you to once again turn your attention to the video screens around me on both sides, because we have a special message from my colleague and one of our co-hosts today, my colleague on Tense Advisory Council, one of our co-hosts, Carlos Gutierrez. So Carlos unfortunately could not be with us today, but he wanted to personally first thank you all for coming. He is, as I mentioned before, currently the CEO of Empath, and he came to the US as a Cuban refugee. So obviously the refugee crisis is very dear to his heart. He went on to become the CEO of Kellogg's and the US Secretary of Commerce, of course, and he wanted to share a message with all of you today.
When you hire a refugee, that refugee will be grateful forever. They'll be loyal, they'll be hardworking. They will be some of the best employees you've ever seen because of the gratitude they have. You know, in terms of what was it like being a refugee when we came over to the US, which was 1960, it was a different era. It was a different time. And at that time, there was empathy and solidarity with Cuban refugees. So I had this feeling of being welcomed. The bellhop at the hotel would take 30 minutes a day and teach me English. My teacher made me feel like she wanted me to be successful. We felt like people wanted us to be here. Because of that, that generation of refugees has such an incredible loyalty and gratitude to the country.
All right, well, now it's my pleasure to invite Assistant Secretary of State Julieta Valles-Noyes and Abdul Nasser Raimi to the stage. Please come on up. Assistant Secretary Noyes is a career member of the Senior Foreign Service, became Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration in March 2022. Assistant Secretary Noyes is also a first-generation American whose parents entered the United States from Cuba as refugees. Abdul Nasser Raimi is the Safety and Security Manager at a Hilton Hotel in McLean, Virginia. Abdul previously served as a translator for the U.S. Marine Corps in Afghanistan and fled the country with his family following the Taliban's takeover. He arrived in the U.S. only in October 2021. So both of you, welcome onto the stage.
Thanks so much. Am I on? Can you hear me? I'm so grateful to be here today. It's such an important event, and I'm so thankful to the Tent Partnership and to all of you who are part of it, and those of you thinking of joining it, because this is an important topic. This really matters. And as Betty mentioned, I am myself the daughter of refugees. And I grew up hearing from my parents how grateful they were to this country and to businesses, to the people who employed them and gave them the dignity of work and of self-reliance. They always told me we didn't want a handout, we wanted an opportunity. And that's what we got in the United States. And so I think our conversation today is a meaningful one. My parents experienced it like the previous speaker a few decades ago, but Abdul is experiencing it right now. So you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from him. So Abdul, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what your experience has been like. Now, you served as an interpreter for the American military in Afghanistan, and you came to the United States just last fall.
Thank you for having me.
What's it been like? Tell us.
Yeah. Past year, just almost 1 year that I'm here. So we just evacuated by the US Army from Afghanistan. And I started my career as a linguist or cultural advisor back home. It took 15 years to build a career from linguist or interpreter, be a cultural advisor, be a stakeholder engagement officer, be an environmental specialist, be a deputy director of research and development, and finally be the director of research and developments. And I have been involved in more than 100 projects in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
I lost actually everything back home. When I came to America and I decided to start over, and I told myself, to my wife, I'm starting right now with experience. Back home, I started without experience, but right now I'm starting with experience. So I struggled a lot actually to find a job, because my resume was, whenever I send it to anywhere, everybody said that you are overqualified. I know English is my full language, not my native, not my second language. So I promised with myself, I promised to my wife, I will never change my resume, because anything I have written in my resume, I have support documents for that. I have proof. So it was, but a job fair, so changed my life.
Changed your life.
Yeah,
A job fair.
a job
Changed his
fair.
life.
And I appreciate Lutheran Social Agency, my friends who helped me, who held the job fair. And in that job fair, many companies came. And I found great company, Hilton. And I saw a woman there, HR director, Veronica. I will never forget her smile on that time. She told me, don't worry, Abdul, everything will be okay. I told him, any jobs, I'm ready, but don't say overqualified. Yeah, it's overqualified. I'm qualified for any job. I just want to start to sustain my family, to feed my family. That's my goal.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. My dad used to say that to my dad's first job. I told Hamdi, my dad's first job was cleaning out ice cream tanks at a dairy factory. And he rose to be a senior executive with IBM. And now his daughter's an American diplomat. So Abdul, I think the world is your oyster. So I'm really glad that you went to that job fair. And now you're a safety and a security manager at Hilton.
I proudly
Tell us about that.
I proudly say that I'm safety and security manager at Hilton McLean. I actually have 2 degrees.
Mhm.
I'm an environmental engineer, also lawyer. But this place, Hilton McLean, is my second home. It's a great place to work. I am enjoying from my job. I love the people who are there, from GM up to cleaners. They're supporting me. They're very supportive. I really appreciate. I will never forget that because I sustain my family and they help me a lot. Even they don't help my family because they help me and also I am helping the other people in back home, 4 or 5 families. I'm sending monthly for them money. So they help not just me, my family, the other family too. I really appreciate, I'm really grateful. Thank you, Hilton McLean. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Abdul. And I understand. So you're supporting your family here, you're supporting families back in Afghanistan, but I've heard that you're also supporting other refugees and that you have brought other refugees to work at Hilton, that you've become a connection into your community.
As I mentioned at the first your question that I have been involved in many projects in Afghanistan back home. So I used to help stakeholder engagement meetings. So I used to be among people. I love to work with the people. I love to work for those people who are suffering with economic crisis, suffering poverty. So this is my goal, to work for my people in anywhere, in USA, in Europe. So I have a great ties right now with the immigrations. So right now I want to help them. And I told them, I know we felt, Joe, we have to start from zero once again, but it's not late. Go start, but this time you will start different and you will get your dream job. And positions are waiting for us.
That's great. That's great. Now, can you tell us a little bit about some of the first challenges that you encountered after you found a job, when you started working? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome?
Just minor, small challenges, but for me it was big because I didn't know how to do payroll. Still, I have problem with that. So to make a schedule and but I know my directors helped me a lot. Everyone helped me a lot. So still they're helping me. And it was a challenge. So everyone told me at the Hilton McLean, even the cleaners, housekeepers, hey, Abdul, do you need anything? You're new here. I told him, no, I don't need anything, Joe. So I know how to use Microsoft Project. I know how to use Excel. I know how to use MS Office. I don't know how, even some of them, they don't know that I don't know how to use the Outlook. So no, I know how to use, just accept your payroll. So that's it. But right now I know that.
All right,
Yeah,
all right. You overcame.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
powered through.
Yeah.
Okay. So what have been some of the biggest joys of working there?
Working there, feel me, I feel energy in there. So sometimes my director tell me, hey, Abdul, go home. I said, no, I don't want to go home. I will stay here a long time to work hard. You know, one thing I want to share with the companies, please hire refugees. You will find hard workers, smart, intelligent, and loyal. You know why? Because they have family. They're very loyal to their family. They don't want to see once again that their family fell in the past. So they work as hard as possible. They're very trustable. And also one message for the refugees, don't shy, go start from zero, from anywhere. Just, you will get your dream job by your hard working. And America is land of opportunity, so you will get it.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Abdul.
You're welcome.
So I'm looking at my watch, Betty. Is it time or should we go on a bit?
You've got 1 more minute.
All right. So Abdul, tell us about your dreams.
Actually, those people who are dreaming for second time, their dream will be huge, not small. I like the word of CEO.
CEO,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I love
Watch
that.
out, Hamdi.
I love that word.
Well, I think America is a land of opportunity and a land of dreams, but it's people like you who have made it what it is and who will make it what it will become. So
I have to
Abdul,
pay
thank
back for
you.
America.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel that way
because they
too.
have saved my life.
Feel that
Yeah.
way too. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Julietta and Abdul. I loved hearing that. And so we're about to get into the portion of the program where we are going to hear the commitments from the dozens of companies that have made commitments for this year. And before I do, though, as we were talking about this on the panel here, I'm going to try to talk as there's all this activity going on. As you heard, it's not just one party, right? Tent can't do this alone. The governments can't do this alone. And there's other critical partners here we haven't mentioned that are all joining together to address the refugee crisis. Again, not just in the US, but all around the world. And that's some of the agencies, the critical agencies that are tasked by the US government to help integrate refugees into the United States. And these are agencies that do everything from helping refugee mothers with childcare to language classes, English proficiency classes, to legal services, all the things that we heard about on our panel talk about that some of these companies are doing as well. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to recognize some of these critical partners that work with Tent and the government. Some of those partners include the Church World Service, the Ethiopian Community Development Council, the Episcopal Migration Ministries, International Rescue Committee, the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, World Relief, and dozens of others. And I only just tell you these names because not only can you reach out to Hamdi and Tent, but if you are also looking for other ways to work with refugees in your area, you can reach out to some of those agencies. So without further ado, I'd love to get to the exciting part of hearing about the commitments made by the company, some of whom you've heard today. I'd like to bring Jonas back up on the stage to kick this part of the program off.
Thank you very much, Betty. Sometimes at events like this, things can become quite abstract and, the concepts are big and the ideas are big. But I think that Abdul clearly illustrated the commitments that all the organizations that I'm about to read now have made to help individuals and his family, like in Abdul and his family, settle in the United States and make it your home. And thank you for everything that you did as an ally to the United States in Afghanistan. We are honored as a coalition, as a company, and all of these companies to do everything that we can to help refugees find gainful and sustainable employment here in the United States. So thank you.
Made this come alive, Abdul. And here we go. Here are the companies that are making commitments. So let me start by saying that Atento is committing to hire 50 refugees. Great Lakes Cheese is pledging to hire 50 refugees. Albia is committing to hire 50 refugees. And the company will also offer internships to 20 refugees in the United States. Ambridge Hospitality will hire 90 refugees. The company will also offer internships to 10 refugees in the US. CNS Wholesale Grocers is pledging to hire 100 refugees. IHG is committing to hiring 100 refugees. Ipsos will provide training resources for 100 refugees. La Colombe is committing to hire 100 refugees. And to support its hiring program, La Colombe will also provide language training and transportation support to all of its refugee employees. Red Roof Hotels is pledging to hire 100 refugees. The company will also offer access to debt-free general educational development and other certification programs to support the career development of its refugee employees. Accenture will hire 200 refugees, and this commitment builds on Accenture's efforts to hire dozens of refugees in the US to date. Chobani is committing to hire 200 refugees in full-time roles and 20 refugees in part-time 200 in full-time roles or part-time roles. So Dexo is pledging to hire 180 refugees in full-time roles and 20 refugees in part-time roles. The Body Shop will hire 200 refugees in part-time roles. The company will incorporate its refugee hiring efforts into its broader open hiring program, which aims to remove barriers to employment during the application process. Amcor will hire 300 refugees. The company will also provide transportation to and from work and English as a second language classes to recently hired refugees to help them overcome workforce barriers. Carroll's is committing to hire 50 refugees in full-time roles and 250 refugees in part-time roles. The company will also provide technical and leadership development to its refugee employees to help with career advancement. Oneida Nation Enterprises is committing to hire 300 refugees for full-time roles and 60 refugees for part-time roles. And as part of this effort, Oneida will host job fairs with refugee organizations and develop cross-cultural onboarding and training materials. Oneida will also hire a team of interpreters to provide on-site translation support and will offer employee housing and free transportation to help refugee employees get to and from work. Deloitte will hire 250 refugees and train 250 refugees. And finally, 14 companies have signed on to a collective commitment as a group. FedEx, Gap Inc., Genpact, Graham Packaging, Henry Schein, Kimball Midwest, MasterCorp, Panda Express, Silgan Dispensing, Spencer Gifts, Sumitomo Electric, the Kellogg Company, Transdev, and US Express are collectively committing to hire 2,275 refugees in the United States over 3 years. So that's a brief overview of the initial pledges and commitments of these organizations. And now it is my distinct pleasure to turn the program over to you, Hamdi, to continue this portion of our event.
Thank you, Jonas. This is the best part. I am so excited to lead the next part of the announcement sessions and introduce the companies that are making the largest commitments of the day. First, we'll introduce two companies who are stepping up to provide professional training opportunities to refugees, which is extremely important. Join me welcoming LinkedIn to the stage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cami Erickson. I'm a director of social impact at LinkedIn, and my team oversees our partnerships and disaster response work. LinkedIn as a company has a vision of creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And our social impact team in particular is focused on helping professionals facing barriers, including refugees. We have been working to support refugees and displaced people since 2016, and we are so thrilled that we have been working with Tent for all of that time. So thank you to Tent and Hamdi for all of your support. Today, we're really proud to announce our commitment to train 6,000 refugees in the US to help them connect, thank you, to economic opportunity through LinkedIn. And we'll do that in 3 ways. The first is through career conversations through our LinkedIn coaches program. The second is through LinkedIn premium subscriptions, which will help refugees who are actively job seeking find employment. And then the third is through continuing to promote and share our resource pages, which we've just published and are in 7 languages, including Arabic, Dari, Ukrainian, Russian, French, Spanish, and English. We are thrilled to be doing this work in partnership with all of you. I look forward to everything we will do together. And my colleague Jordan Medina is out here somewhere, so please find him at the reception. He can tell you more about our work and how you can get involved. Thank you.
And now, thank you, Coursera. Now, LinkedIn now, Coursera, please.
Good afternoon. My name is April Solar, and I'm on the social impact team at Coursera, which is an online education platform that seeks to transform lives through learning. Thank you, Tent, for having us here today. It's an honor to share the stage with so many other companies stepping up to support the economic integration of refugees. Technology and education are 2 key drivers of social mobility. Technology enables online learning, which gives anyone, anywhere, access to high-quality training and upskilling opportunities. Technology has also enabled remote work, which promises anyone, anywhere, access to high-quality jobs. At the same time, we know that refugees face enormous challenges. The pandemic has worsened access to education and ultimately skills training for refugees. This unequal access leads to unequal economic opportunity. But there is hope, and now more than ever, online learning can offer pathways to a more promising future. And we are committed to using our platform to provide refugees and other underserved communities of learners with access to high-quality education that supports personal development, career advancement, and so much more. That's why I'm thrilled today to announce Coursera's commitment. Over the next 3 years, we will expand our Coursera for Refugees program, donating 15,000 licenses to support refugee training and development, including licenses for 7,500 refugees here in the United States. Refugees will be able to engage with our catalog of content and credentials from world-class universities and companies. This includes access to over 5,000 courses and professional certifications, ranging from topics like business, data science, language learning, and personal development. We are eager to work with eligible nonprofits, resettlement agencies, and international refugee-serving organizations, and we look forward to partnering with Tent on this transformational multi-year initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Next, we will introduce the companies that are making the largest hiring commitments of the day. Please welcome PepsiCo to the stage.
Hi, I'm Ronald Schelkens. I'm the CHRO for PepsiCo. It's an honor to be here and honor to be a part of the movement, I would say. I think when we were approached by Tent, I discussed it with Ramon, our CEO, and it was an immediate of course. It was immediately, we're going to participate. And the reason for the of course was, I would say 3 things. One is, of course, it fits in our PepsiCo positive strategy, which is aiming to do a positive contribution to the planet and to the societies in which we operate. So it fit very well. The second one was, it fit within our diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, because we want to represent society and make sure that we represent society at all levels in the company. And then finally, it fits our talent strategy. We're suffering In the US, we have a lot of vacancies. So widening the aperture of talent is super important. And we are very optimistic about what we can get. Why 500? So we committed 500. Actually, spoke with Ramon this morning and he asked the same question, why only 500? So I'm under pressure to, but I stay with 500 for now. The reason is that we want to learn. Tent is a good organization. We work with them in Europe already, but want to learn, and hopefully next time we can come and say it's going to be more than 500. All right, thank you.
And this is how differences are made. You know, Ramon is an amazing CEO, and when we were in Netherlands during the event, I took a picture with the PepsiCo team and sent it to text to Ramon and said, "You guys in the US are behind." So much passion, so much humanity in the leadership. Thank you, PepsiCo. Albert couldn't be here with us today. I have to tell you, one of the most amazing thing happened to me is meeting Albert, CEO of Pfizer, and him and his team getting into this topic in a really, really deep way. His leadership means a lot to us at Tent and for me, and of course for the business community. But I'm so excited to have Pfizer here with us, making an announcement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mona Babri. I'm Director, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Pfizer. Thank you for having us here today. Pfizer and the Pfizer Foundation have a long history partnering with humanitarian organizations that help people displaced by humanitarian crises to survive, recover, and rebuild their lives. The Afghan refugee resettlement inspired us to accelerate our efforts to hire, mentor, and advocate for refugees from around the world. In September of 2021, Pfizer launched the Refugee Leadership Initiative with a goal to hire 100 refugees by the end of 2022 and mentor 150 refugees, with 50 of those mentorship relationships dedicated to refugees from LGBTQ communities. Based on our learnings, we've adapted our program as needed to ensure an equitable hiring and onboarding process for newcomers. As we're about to complete our 2022 goal, I'm excited to announce today on behalf of Pfizer, a goal to hire 500 refugees by the end of 2025. We ensure that we hire those who are best qualified for our roles by matching newcomers to roles that align with our skills, education, and experiences across manufacturing and many other business functions across Pfizer. We embrace and celebrate the diversity that refugees bring to the workforce, their skill sets, their lived experiences, resilience, and a fierce dedication to be successful in their new homes. And we know that this will only make us stronger as a company. Our collective work here is not done. Now more than ever, employees want their companies to do the right thing. And I couldn't be more proud of all the American companies that are opening doors to this talent and contributing to make sure there's an equitable process from recruitment to retention. Thank you again for Tent for giving companies this amazing platform and supporting us in developing and advancing our refugee hiring programs.
And now, please welcome Hayat.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Catherine Barajas. I'm the Regional Vice President of Talent Acquisition and Development for Hyatt. We're proud of Hyatt's long legacy of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which goes back to our company's founding over 65 years ago. We know that one of the main barriers to settling in a new country is finding steady employment, and hospitality is an industry where entry-level jobs can turn into lifelong careers. Hospitality jobs will allow refugees to bring transferable skills into a variety of roles in our Hyatt properties and offices. With our global reach, it's important that not only our teams reflect the cultures, ethnicities, genders, ages, abilities, and identities of those that make up our destinations and local communities of which we're a part of. In addition, helping refugees integrate without losing their culture or identity is a part of Hyatt's purpose of care. We're not just hiring individuals to fill vacancies, we want them to feel supported and comfortable in their new role and new home so that they can thrive. This includes empowering our hotel teams to learn about the refugees' cultures, and again, their languages, along with providing refugees with other needed support as they settle into their new lives. Being at Hyatt has always means having a space to be who you are. We're committed to creating inclusive environments where every colleague feels welcome, cared for, and like they belong. And the last 2 years have created an incredible opportunity to join Hyatt with significant and rising demand for leisure travel. I'm excited and proud to share today that Hyatt is committing to hiring 500 refugees globally over the next 3 years. This will take our current efforts to the next level by working with community-based organizations to place refugees in jobs and hosting hiring fairs. Over the past several months in cities, we've successfully welcomed already more than 100 refugees. We're thrilled to build on this and even more committed to bringing more refugees into the Hyatt family. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Hyatt. And now please join me welcoming Cargill to the stage.
Good afternoon. My name is Daphne Means, the North America Talent Acquisition Leader for Cargill, where I've proudly worked for over 7 years. It is my honor to speak on behalf of Cargill today to confirm our commitment to the Tent Partnership for Refugees. At Cargill, we are committed to guiding our values, which are put people first, do the right thing, and reach higher, as demonstrated by our long history of refugee support through employment and integration. Today's announcement of our tent commitment reflects how we continue our focus on hiring refugees into the future. Over the next 3 years, Cargill is committed to a goal of hiring at least 1,000 refugees to be a part of our teams in our processing facilities and other opportunities with our expansive operations across the U.S. Through this commitment, we are building on years of experience cultivating work environments in which different cultures thrive. Fueled by our partnership with Tent, we have connected with key resettlement organizations to identify potential candidates to hire and will leverage recruiting strategies to facilitate employment, including job fairs and in-person meetings. We will also work closely with these organizations to facilitate refugees' transition to their new communities. And in addition, we're teaming up with vendors to address transportation gaps, which can ensure refugees have access to travel to our facilities. As refugees establish residence in their new communities and start their career journey with Cargill, we will be focused on ensuring they feel valued and heard. In the months ahead, we'll identify organizations that can provide language training, housing resources, and cultural and community information. We will leverage our available resources and onboarding plans to make sure refugees feel welcomed at Cargill. We take this commitment very seriously and will ensure there are standards in place to measure success. In addition to tracking job vacancies filled by refugee candidates, we will continue to host roundtable discussions to gather feedback from these employees on their Cargill experience. Through every step of this process and partnership, we will treat refugees with the respect, dignity, and honor that Cargill employees expect and deserve. Thank you, Tent, for stepping up to bring refugee talent and employers together. We're grateful to be a part of this initiative. Thank you.
Daphne, thank you. Thank you, Cargill. Another amazing company, Gate Group, which provides airline equipment and catering on flights, could not be here with us today. I am very proud to announce a commitment on their behalf to hire 1,000 refugees over 3 years in the United States. This commitment builds on the company's success hiring more than 300 refugees in the United States. So thank you, Gate Group. Next, we'll hear from ISS about their commitment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kirsten Turley, and I am the head of talent transformation and people development at ISS in North America. And I've already learned so much from the summit and from networking earlier today that I can't wait to take back. I am thrilled to be here today to announce our commitment to hire and train 1,000 refugees by 2025. ISS is a global service provider of facilities management, workplace experiences, and food services in over 30 countries today. We employ more than 350,000 people around the world today, and we're going to continue that work here in the US with our refugees. As a large global employer, we also recognize our ability to be a force for good, and in providing opportunities and a chance for stability for so many people fleeing global disruptions. At ISS, we believe that people make places, and we look forward to providing that opportunity to so many refugees through our upcoming programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, ISS. Please welcome Marriott.
First of all, thank you so much, Tent, for organizing this wonderful event and bringing so many people and organizations together. I'm Georgine Tim. I'm the Market Director of Diplomatic and Community Relations for the New York City Marriott Hotels. Over my years at Marriott, I've seen firsthand the way people come together to make a sustainable impact in the communities where we serve. And that includes welcoming newcomers into those communities. We are in the business of connecting people through travel and welcoming all. So this is a core to who we are in the US and around the globe. For instance, in response to the war in Ukraine, Marriott hotels in the region, they contributed nearly $3.5 million in humanitarian relief, including over 18,000 room nights to refugees and those impacted by the war. Beyond financial contributions, 80 hotels also have hired 400 Ukrainian refugees so far. Here in the US, we've trained over 600 refugees in workforce development, hospitality, and life skills through international rescue committees and such like programs, and also help the IRS, which is the International Rescue Committee, to set up new job readiness training programs tailored for Afghan refugees. While education and training are vital foundations, we know that the most impactful way we can support refugees is by offering meaningful careers. Careers that are more than jobs, where skills are built on strength and growth and development are kept. That's why I'm proud to announce that Marriott International is setting a goal to hire 1,500 refugees in the US by 2025. About half of the general managers who lead our hotels began hourly associates. They started as hourly associates. So beginning a career with Marriott, it's more than a place for you to receive a paycheck. It is a community where you can grow and fulfill such a rewarding career. Personally, I was born in Ghana, West Africa. I started as a busboy in one of our restaurants, and today I serve about 25 hotels in the city. So that's just an example. And it's also exciting that many of our friends within the hospitality industry are making similar goals as we make an even bigger impact when we are working together. Our industry is historically one of the fastest growing industries in the world, meaning we are always seeking to further build a pipeline of talent full of passionate potential associates. There are few who exude more passion than those who have taken massive risk in seeking a better life for themselves and families. We've seen firsthand that hiring refugees enriches our business as well as our communities. And we are excited to partner with Tent and others in this room to achieve this ambitious goal and make a lasting impression. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Marriott. More fantastic leadership from the hospitality industry. Join me welcoming our longtime friend, longstanding tent members, Hilton.
Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to be here today and represent Hilton. My name is Melissa Sterling, and I head up our Pathway Programs office. In this role, it has been an incredible experience to support refugees, particularly at this time. We have hundreds of team member stories like Abdul's across the country and the globe, and it is truly heartwarming. As a first-generation American, fleeing oppression is a part of my family's story. My father was born in a refugee camp. I grew up hearing stories from my grandparents about their long, harrowing journey to the United States and the challenges they faced, the courage and perseverance it took to build a new life from nothing, and the gratitude for what is possible. This legacy makes my pride in what Hilton is doing to support refugees even more personal. Since our company's inception more than 100 years ago, Hilton has welcomed all. We have been a longtime partner of the Tent Partnership for Refugees, becoming the first hospitality company to join in 2018, pledging to impact 1,600 refugees by 2030 through employment opportunities, hospitality skills training, in-kind donations, and volunteer hours to refugee organizations. Between 2019 and 2021, Hilton has impacted more than 20,000 refugees globally, surpassing our commitment. In the past 9 months, we've hired more than 130 Afghan refugees throughout the US and pledged to donate more than 1 million room nights to support Ukrainian refugees and humanitarian relief efforts. Hilton's partnership with Tent supports our updated ESG goals, specifically our commitment to create 5 million learning and growth opportunities for team members and communities with a focus on underrepresented groups by 2030. Building on our continued efforts, it is my honor today to announce that Hilton is committing to hiring 1,500 refugees over the next 3 years by partnering with Hilton managed and franchised properties across the US. We will continue working with our hotels to ensure these new team members feel welcomed and are aware of all the development opportunities we have to help them grow, including our partnership with Guild, providing over 70 foundational education programs such as English learning language, certifications, and college degrees. We deeply value our partnership with Tent and are looking forward to advancing our impact around refugee support. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Hilton. Now, one of our newest members, please welcome Blackstone.
Thank you. My name is Gio Kataya, and I'm Blackstone's Global Head of Real Estate Asset Management. I want to start by acknowledging the very reason we are here today, to honor the bravery and courage of refugees around the world who have fled war, violence, or persecution and sought safety in a new and unfamiliar country. I also want to offer my sincere thanks to Tent for bringing all of us in this room together. We are absolutely humbled to be part of this effort. On behalf of my colleagues at Blackstone, we are committing to 2,000 refugee hires across our global portfolio companies and real estate properties by the end of 2025, with 1,500 in the US alone. While today marks a new commitment from Blackstone, we have been focused on this for some time. This year, our portfolio companies and real estate properties have hired nearly 500 refugees from around the world, including from Afghanistan, the Ukraine, Guatemala, and El Salvador. In April, we joined the Welcome.US CEO Council, an effort to accelerate and scale private sector support for refugees from Afghanistan and the Ukraine. At Blackstone, setting big goals and making them a reality is not new to us. Our goal today follows our veteran hiring initiative, where we hired over 100,000 US veteran spouses, and caregivers across our portfolio, and the creation of our signature Career Pathways program, which fosters economic mobility for diverse and historically underrepresented talent. The Blackstone advantage lies in merging our integrated approach to building resilient companies with our desire to do good and go beyond returns. Looking ahead, we will continue to partner with our portfolio companies like Great Wolf Resorts and Extended Stay America, and our third-party managers like Hilton and Marriott to scale our refugee hiring efforts. We'll also partner with organizations that specialize in refugee resettlement, including Tent, so that we have the tools and resources necessary to not only hire, but also train and welcome these new employees. At Blackstone, we believe that diverse teams make stronger companies. We look forward to welcoming a powerful spectrum of backgrounds, identities, and experiences to the Blackstone family. Thank you.
Thank you, Gio. Thank you, Blackstone. We heard a lot about the great work Tyson Food is doing earlier today. Join me welcoming John back to the stage, please.
Hello, everybody. You already got to hear a little bit about Tyson, so I'll just talk about our commitment and what we're going to do for our team members. But before I do that, I want to say thanks to Tent and Hamdi and some of my new friends and colleagues here, Gideon, Yara, and Scarlett, the whole gang. So fun to meet all of you in person. Thank you guys for what you do. So Tyson, we're committed to hiring 2,500 refugees over the next 3 years. And in doing so, we will provide them free education for English language skills, professional certificates, associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees. We will provide them transportation, legal services, immigration counseling, scheduling flexibility, and in some cases, access to childcare. We will support them in their paths to citizenship. And in addition to supporting them as employees, we will support them as professionals, as caregivers, and as new community members wherever we operate, and we're proud to do it. So thank you for letting us be a part of this.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Tyson. John's last name also is Tyson. So it's so beautiful that the tradition, the generational tradition continues making impact. Now I get to invite my co-host, Jonas, back for Manpower.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me add my thanks to for being part of this great coalition. You've heard all the great companies today make their commitments. And I'm delighted to announce on behalf of the entire ManpowerGroup team, our commitment, which is for the employment of 3,000 refugees over the course of the next 3 years here in the United States. And we're going to be here. And so you might ask, how are we going to do this? So first of all, we're going to leverage our experience of finding employment for 1,200 refugees over the past couple of years in Europe, be it Syrians coming into Germany. You spoke, Roland, earlier about Holland, an activity for refugees there that we're doing together. And all of that experience, which then translates into speaking with employers. And if you know anything about France, where we have been successful in having refugees placed from Ukraine recently, you know that speaking French is really important. But if you talk about the skills and the qualifications that refugees bring in France, we've been able to convince employers to employ 10 Ukrainians as long as one of them speaks French, which if anyone knows anything about France, that's a world record and just shows you how excited those employers are there. And we are equally sure that our employers here in the United States are going to be excited. So we will take all of the resources that we have in the US in terms of assessing talent to the opportunities, providing the upskilling and reskilling opportunities. We know they need to find the right opportunities, as well as coaching and mentoring, job fairs, and everything else that we would need to do to make sure that we find a great fit. And finally, the language support center that we're establishing in Milwaukee, starting with Pashto and Ukrainian. We know the language barrier can be an issue, and Janet spoke about that earlier, and John as well. So we know language support is going to be very important, and we're going to establish that support center so we're enabling their entry into the US workforce as quickly and as smoothly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. You know, I remember like yesterday when Gideon and I and Scarlett called Jonas. It was a few minutes conversation. It was just, of course, and it's been a great success because of you. Thank you. And finally, please welcome Amazon. There you go.
Hey, good afternoon again. So my name is Janet Sara, and I've got the pleasure of serving as Vice President of Amazon Employee Relations, and excited to help be with everyone today. But today, Amazon's making a commitment to hire at least 5,000 refugees in the United States by the end of 2024, and provide these employees with tailored support and resources through our Welcome Door program I mentioned a little bit earlier today. So we're really excited for that. As you heard, so Welcome Door provides refugee and humanitarian-based immigrant employees with several tools and benefits, as we do with our other employees as well. But the majority of our refugees that come join Amazon, that they do work in full-time regular roles, just like our other employees. These are not temporary positions. These are roles, as you heard others mention, that are career building. We're excited for that. And like our other employees, they receive immediate access to our benefits and also our career choice program for training. And I wanted to mention earlier, because we had such a great program of also people who are seeking employment. Refugees can participate even before joining Amazon as programs such as AWS Restart. And Restart's a free full-time 12-week program, prepares underemployed and unemployed individuals with training for cloud computing, which is, I think, just amazing. I wanted to share that with everyone. But the commitment we're making today is not just about jobs. It's providing refugees access to meaningful opportunities to help them build their new life, as well as tailored benefits to help them navigate the process of being a displaced person. But being displaced from your homeland and having to start somewhere new again is incredibly challenging. And it's our privilege and an honor really to just help these people make a great start. Hamdi, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Of course, authorities, leadership at Amazon, and all HR group at Amazon stepping up. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. Before I turn it to Betty, I just wanted to say thank you to my amazing temp team. Gideon, as our fearless leader here, works so hard every day with other leaders at Tent. Scarlett, where's Scarlett? It's not here. It's working somewhere. No, nonstop. Noni, Yaron, Eliana, and everyone at Tent. And now we're expanding the team to Europe. And of course, the work here is just the beginning. This is not just announcement and then turns off. It's just one event. At Tent, we believe making this quick, fast, make impact, move on to the next thing. So there's so many next things that are happening. Our Tent members will get announcements and help us to get more members, more programs, and increase this coalition the larger and larger. We here at Tent, we are at your service. But of course, we are not alone. Just like announced, there are so many organizations that we come together and work. You know, this is exciting. You saw the names of the brands and companies and leadership and decision makers are stepping up, making commitments, and lives are changing. Every single number that is announced is a life. It has its own story and it has an impact on generations and generations to come. Just like our assistant secretary said, and somebody's children of those numbers are going to do something amazing in America and for humanity, for the world. And not only in numbers, it's also generations of generations impact on the other side of the world where they are coming from, just like Abdul has announced. This is a good work. It's an important work. It's a necessary work. And I cannot thank you enough for your participation, for your hard work. And with that, I'll turn back to Betty.
Thank you, Hamdi and Jonas, for hosting that section that we just heard, all the wonderful commitments. And I just wanted to actually just take a step back and just recap what we heard in the last half hour, which is we heard 45 companies make commitments to hire and train refugees. Those announcements will lead to 22,715 full-time jobs for refugees. 13,000. That's right. Oh, I like the enthusiasm. 13,850 training opportunities for refugees. And these hiring commitments are estimated to result in more than $912 million in income for refugees in the United States each year. That is incredible. Such an honor to be a part of this. Okay, so just to wrap up this wonderful afternoon that we've had, I'd love to bring onto stage Yaron Schwartz, Tent's Director for U.S. Partnerships, of which we would not be here today without your leadership, Yaron.
Thank you, Betty. In a minute, Gideon, Tent's Executive Director, is going to wrap up today's summit. But before he does, just as Hamdi mentioned, we wanted to give you another plug for something else that you all should be considering moving forward about an exciting initiative that we're launching to complement our work in training and hiring. I'm proud to announce that Tent will be significantly scaling up our work to provide structured professional mentorship to refugees in the United States by matching mentors at companies with refugee mentees. Mentorship is a powerful way for companies to economically integrate refugees and is one of the ways that we can provide a bridge for refugees to connect to meaningful work opportunities, whether that be for that critical first job or for higher skilled roles. And we know this because we've seen it in action. 2 years ago, we launched a mentorship program for LGBTQ refugees in partnership with the Human Rights Campaign. Through this program, LGBTQ employee resource groups at over 40 large companies are providing professional guidance and support to LGBTQ refugees to help them advance in their careers. We've reached thousands of LGBTQ refugees in the United States, as well as in the UK, Canada, Mexico, and Germany through this program, who now have more confidence and skills to better navigate their local job market. Building on this groundbreaking partnership, we're excited to launch 3 new mentorship programs in the United States in the coming year. First, we're partnering with Hiring Our Heroes, the country's leading veterans employment initiative run out of the US Chamber of Commerce, to recruit veteran employee resource groups at major companies to mentor Afghans. Second, we're partnering with Catalyst, the preeminent organization dedicated to the advancement of women in the workforce, to recruit women's employee resource groups to mentor refugee women, including Ukrainian women. Finally, we're working with organizations like Unidos US to recruit Hispanic employee resource groups at major companies to mentor Hispanic refugees who have fled countries like Venezuela and Cuba. These mentorship programs will help thousands of refugees in the United States advance in their careers, while also motivating thousands of mentors at companies to meaningfully support refugees. Mentorship is a really great first step for companies that are looking for ways to get started. And finally, we want to thank PayPal, a company that by participating in our LGBTQ refugee mentorship program in both the US and UK, has seen firsthand how mentorship can benefit both refugee mentees and employees serving as mentors. We're excited to share that PayPal will be partnering with us to help build our capacity to support these mentorship programs moving forward. We look forward to working with many of you on these exciting mentorship opportunities in the months ahead.
All right, well, to close out the program, I want to hand it over to Gideon Maltz, the Executive Director of Tent. So great to have you. So great to lead us, Gideon.
Thank you, Betty. Your distinguished career in business and business journalism has made you one of our hardest working and most effective advisory council members, and we're deeply grateful to you. Thank you to Jonas for championing this cause and helping us bring more and more companies into the movement. Thank you to Carlos and Albert, who couldn't join today, but have been tireless advocates for this work. Thank you to Assistant Secretary Noyes, not only for participating, but for representing an administration whose renewed leadership on refugees has made this event possible. Thank you to Hamdi, whose inspiration, humility, and marketing genius infuses every part of Tent's DNA. And thank you to the Tent team, Chrissy, Tony, Sarah, Shai, Eleanor, and many others, but most especially to Yaron, who has spearheaded this effort every step of the way. We've heard an extraordinary set of commitments today, commitments to train more than 10,000 refugees and hire more than 20,000 refugees in the US alone. I want to close the summit just by taking a minute to highlight just why these commitments are so important. First, these commitments are durable. Too often we turn to businesses only for donations, financial donations, in-kind donations. We've been thrilled to see this outpouring of support in the last year, but if history is any lesson, it will not last. Refugee crises are seemingly interminable, but public interest in them is not. And even with the best will in the world, corporate interest wanes. But while you may not see corporate leaders writing big checks to Afghans and Ukrainians in a couple of years, I guarantee that most of the companies you heard from today will still be hiring refugees and in many cases scaling further. And that's because companies investing in refugee hiring will see tangible business benefits that will last far beyond the headlines of a crisis. Companies will fill critical workforce gaps. They'll find motivated and loyal talent, and they'll build brands that consumers want to support and that employees want to work at. Second, commitments like the ones you heard today are the most effective way we have to get refugees into work at scale. A company commitment to hire refugees is a serious undertaking. It requires a company to get clear internal alignment on its plans. It forces them to think seriously about how to address structural barriers to refugee hiring and integration. And the public accountability that comes with it holds their feet to the fire. These company commitments in turn will be supported by Tent. We'll provide companies with hands-on support to set up and scale hiring programs. We'll help them tackle systemic barriers like transportation and language. And we'll share the best guidance distilled from the hundreds of companies we work with, not just in the US, but in Canada, Germany, the UK, and elsewhere. And in turn, we'll refer companies to resettlement agencies and their local affiliates across the country that do extraordinary and tireless work to resettle refugees and prepare them for the workforce. As the US government considers additional paths for refugees to enter the US, such as through private sponsorship, our plea is to preserve a role for the resettlement agencies. We've learned over and over again that shortcuts like jobs boards rarely work and cannot substitute for the foundational role of resettlement agencies in connecting refugees to jobs. We have a model that works. Companies making commitments, supported by Tent, connected to resettlement agencies. This is how we get refugees into the workforce at scale. So the commitments you've heard are durable and they're effective. And that brings me to the most important point. These commitments are life-changing. As we've heard again and again today, refugees do not want charity. They want to stand on their own feet, provide for their families, put down roots in their new communities. That's what the jobs committed today will provide. And as Betty shared, based on calculations from the International Rescue Committee and Upwardly Global, two of the great organizations we work with, we've calculated that the jobs committed today will put more than $900 million in the pockets of refugees in the US each year. Each year, it'll put $900 million in the pockets of refugees. And to the best of our knowledge, that makes today's gathering the single most significant set of business commitments to support refugees on record anywhere ever. So today was extraordinary, but even so, it's not enough. As the administration rebuilds the resettlement system to welcome 125,000 refugees each year, we need to ensure that every refugee can find a decent job. And that's why today is just the first milestone in a 3-year call to action. In the months ahead, we'll share more exciting hiring and training commitments. As Yaron mentioned, we'll build out new mentorship programs to better prepare refugees for jobs. And we will reconvene in 1 year at our next US Business Summit to assess our progress, celebrate our successes, learn from our pitfalls, and announce new hiring and training commitments as more and more companies join our movement. And with that, I thank you and invite you to join our reception.